She said, "I'm marrying your brother to keep us all close. You understand, right?" After dating me for 3 years, I replied, "Family first." Then I gave the most honest best man speech at their wedding. When I revealed every secret she'd told me about him, the reception went silent. I, 29 male, have been sitting on this for about 2 weeks now, and honestly, writing it down feels like therapy. Maybe someone out there needs to hear that standing up for yourself doesn't make you the villain, even when everyone's trying to convince you otherwise. 3 years. I dated her for 3 years. We met at a mutual friend's birthday party, clicked instantly, and within 6 months we were talking about our future. Kids, houses, where we'd retire, the whole deal. She was warm, funny, ambitious. I thought I'd hit the jackpot. My older brother and I have always had a complicated relationship. He's 34, the golden child, the one who got the corner office at Dad's company, while I wasted my potential becoming a high school history teacher. Growing up, everything I had, he wanted. My toys, my friends, my accomplishments. Mom always said it was healthy competition. Dad called it boys being boys. So when she started spending more time with my family, I was actually happy. Finally, someone who could bridge the gap between me and my brother. She'd go to family dinners even when I couldn't make it because of grading. She'd help Mom with holiday planning. She became part of the family before we even got engaged. Should have seen the red flags. Hindsight's 20/20 and all that. About 4 months ago, she sat me down in our apartment. She was wearing the earrings I'd bought her for our 2nd anniversary. That detail stuck for some reason. "We need to talk about us," she said. My stomach dropped. Nothing good ever follows that sentence. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I realized something. What we have is beautiful, but it's not what I need for my future. I just stared at her. Couldn't even form words. "Your brother and I have been getting closer, and before you say anything, nothing happened while we were together. I would never do that to you." The audacity of that statement still makes my eye twitch. "He proposed last week." I said yes. I remember laughing. Not a funny laugh, more like a, did I just have a stroke laugh. "You're marrying my brother?" I know it sounds crazy, but think about it. This way I stay in the family. We can still be close. Family dinners, holidays, everything stays the same. You understand, right? Family first. She said it like she was doing me a favor. Like marrying my brother was some kind of compromise that benefited everyone. I looked at her for a long moment. The woman I'd planned my life with. The woman who was now wearing an engagement ring that wasn't from me, on the hand I'd held 1,000 times. "Family first," I repeated. "Yeah, I understand." She actually smiled, relieved. "I knew you'd get it. You've always been the mature one." I helped her pack her stuff that weekend. She moved into my brother's condo the following Monday. My family acted like I was supposed to be happy about it. Mom called to say she was so glad everyone was being adult about this. Dad mentioned something about keeping quality women in the family. Nobody asked if I was okay. Not once. Then came the ask. My brother called 3 weeks ago. "Hey, so the wedding's in 2 months. Quick engagement, I know, but when you know, you know." He actually said that to me. "Anyway, I want you to be my best man. It would mean a lot, to both of us." I should have said no. Anyone with self-respect would have said no. But something clicked in my head. A plan started forming. "I'd be honored," I said. He laughed, surprised and pleased. "Really? That's great, man. I know things have been weird, but this proves we can all move forward as a family." "Absolutely. Family first." Over the next few weeks, I threw myself into best man duties. Helped plan the bachelor party. Kept it tame, just poker and drinks at his place. Coordinated with the groomsmen. Went to the rehearsal dinner and smiled through every toast about what a perfect couple they were. And I started writing my speech. See, here's the thing about dating someone for 3 years. You learn everything about them. Their dreams, their fears, their secrets. And she had told me things. Things about my brother. Things she'd learned from family dinners and late-night conversations with my mom. Things he'd done that the family had buried because reputation matters. She used to call him a narcissist, said he'd peaked in high school and never emotionally matured past it. Told me about the time he got a DUI that Dad paid to make disappear, about the coworker he'd harassed until she quit, about how he'd cheated on every girlfriend he'd ever had and bragged about it like it was an accomplishment. She told me all of this while lying in my bed, in my apartment, wearing my shirt. And now she was marrying him because he made more money and had a bigger condo. The wedding was last Saturday. Beautiful venue, about 150 guests. Her side, his side, and me standing right next to him at the altar. When the minister asked who gives this woman and her father said I do, she glanced at me. For just a second, there was something in her eyes. Guilt, maybe. Or maybe just checking to make sure I was playing my part. I smiled, gave her a little nod. The reception was at a fancy hotel ballroom. Open bar, live band, the works. Dad spared no expense for his golden child. Then came time for the speeches. The maid of honor went first. Generic stuff about friendship and finding true love. Everyone clapped. Then my brother handed me the microphone. "Your turn, best man." I stood up, took a breath, looked out at 150 faces, including my parents, her parents, all our relatives, and about 50 of their closest friends. I want to start by saying how honored I am to be standing here today, I began. When my brother asked me to be his best man, I was surprised. After all, he'd just gotten engaged to my girlfriend of 3 years. Some people might find that awkward. Nervous laughter from the crowd. My brother shifted uncomfortably. She went pale. But I realized this was an opportunity to really speak about the man my brother is and the marriage they're about to have. I pulled out my notes, pages and pages of notes. During the 3 years she and I were together, she told me a lot about my brother, things that made me understand exactly why she chose him. My mother's smile was frozen. Dad was reaching for his drink. For instance, she told me about the DUI from 2019, the one Dad paid $15,000 to make disappear so it wouldn't affect his career. That story really showed me how our family handles consequences. We don't have them. Gasps. Actual gasps. She also told me about the coworker situation. You know the one. The woman who filed an HR complaint that mysteriously got dropped after Dad made a donation to the company's charity golf tournament. Really demonstrates his management style. My brother grabbed for the mic. "That's enough." I stepped back. "I'm not done. Best man gets to finish his speech, that's tradition." Someone in the crowd actually said, "Let him finish." It was her cousin, who'd never liked my brother. She told me he's cheated on every girlfriend he's ever had. Every single one. So I guess the real question is, does she think she's the exception? Or does she just not care because the condo has a view? Dead silence. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring. I looked directly at her. "You told me he was a narcissist. Your exact words were, he peaked in high school and never emotionally matured past it. You said marrying him would be a mistake for any woman stupid enough to do it, but I guess the mistake was telling all of this to me while you were already planning your upgrade." Her father stood up. "This is outrageous." "What's outrageous," I said calmly, "is the two of them expecting me to stand here and pretend this is a fairy tale. She left me for my brother. They announced it like I should be grateful. And then they asked me to celebrate it." I set the microphone on the table. "I wish you both exactly what you deserve. Enjoy your marriage." I walked out. Didn't run, didn't look back. Just walked straight through those ballroom doors and kept going. My phone started blowing up before I even got to my car. Ignored it. Drove home, poured a drink, and sat in the silence. That was 6 days ago. The fallout's been significant. I knew there'd be consequences. I'm not stupid. You don't drop a truth bomb at a wedding and expect everyone to send you thank you cards. What I didn't expect was the sheer audacity of their entitlement. Day 1 after the wedding, Sunday, my phone had 31 missed calls and about twice as many texts. Most were from family, ranging from, "How could you?" to, "You've destroyed this family." A few were from random wedding guests I barely knew, calling me everything from a hero to a psychopath. I responded to none of them. Monday morning, my brother showed up at my apartment. Just started banging on the door at 7 a.m. like he owned the place. "Open the door, we need to talk." I opened it, coffee in hand. "Kind of early for a married man to be out, isn't it? Honeymoon not going well?" His face was red. Actually red, like a cartoon character about to explode. "You ruined everything. The wedding, the reception, everything. Her parents aren't speaking to us. Half the guests left before dinner was even served." Sounds like a you problem. A me problem? You stood up there and told lies about me to 150 people. I took a sip of coffee. What lies? The DUI? Dad's financial records would prove that. The HR complaint? Pretty sure there's documentation. The cheating? I'm guessing at least some of those ex-girlfriends are still around. Which part was a lie? He had nothing. Just sputtered for a second. "You're jealous," he finally said. "You've always been jealous of me, and you couldn't stand seeing me happy." "Jealous? You stole my girlfriend." "She chose me. That's not stealing." "Right, because you're such a catch. Tell me, did she know about the cheating before or after she said yes?" He stepped toward me. For a second, I thought he might actually take a swing. "Stay away from us," he said quietly. "You're not family anymore." "Fine by me. Tell Mom I won't be at Thanksgiving." He left. I finished my coffee. Tuesday brought the parents, both of them showing up at my school during my lunch break. Had to talk to them in the parking lot because I wasn't about to let them cause a scene in front of students. Mom was crying. "How could you do this to us? Your own family?" "How could they do this to me? She was my girlfriend. We were talking about getting married. And nobody, not once, asked if I was okay with this arrangement." Dad jumped in. "You should have handled this privately, like an adult." "You mean like you handled his DUI privately? Like you handled the harassment complaint privately? Interesting how private only matters when it protects him. That's different. Those were sensitive situations. My girlfriend leaving me for my brother wasn't sensitive? Mom tried a different approach. She made a choice. These things happen, but you could have been the bigger person. I was the bigger person, for 3 months. I helped plan the bachelor party. I showed up to the rehearsal dinner. I stood at that altar and watched her marry him. And I finally said what everyone else was too scared to say. If that makes me the bad guy, fine." Dad's jaw tightened. "You've embarrassed this family. The Hendersons are threatening to sue for emotional distress." I almost laughed. Let them. I'd love to see that in court. "Your Honor, he told the truth about my son-in-law at their wedding. That'll go over great." "You think this is funny?" "I think it's absurd. You're more upset about your reputation than about how your sons are doing. That's always been the priority, hasn't it?" They left without another word. Haven't heard from them since. Wednesday was when she finally reached out. A text from an unknown number, which meant she'd gotten a new phone or borrowed someone's. "Can we talk? Please, I need to explain." I responded, "There's nothing to explain. You made your choice. Live with it. You humiliated me in front of everyone I know. You humiliated me first. The difference is, I used words at a wedding. You destroyed 3 years of my life and expected me to applaud. I never wanted to hurt you. Then you shouldn't have dated my brother while we were still together. I told you, nothing happened while we were together. Right, you just got closer, fell in love, got engaged within weeks of dumping me. But sure, nothing happened." She stopped responding after that. Thursday, things got messier. I got a call from my department head at school. Apparently, someone had anonymously reported concerns about my mental stability and whether I was fit to teach. "I have to ask," she said carefully, "is everything okay at home?" I explained the situation, leaving out the graphic details. She was quiet for a moment. Someone's trying to get you in trouble? Looks like it. That's petty as hell. She actually said that. Your students love you. Your evaluations are excellent. This goes nowhere, but I wanted you to hear it from me first. I thanked her. She said she'd document it in case they tried again. Thursday night, I got a letter. Official looking, on legal letterhead. Apparently, my brother had hired a lawyer to send me a cease and desist regarding defamatory statements made at a private event. I called my buddy from college, who's now a lawyer, read him the letter. He laughed for about 30 seconds straight. This is hilarious. A cease and desist for a wedding speech? What are they going to do? Sue you for being mean at their reception? Is there any actual legal threat here? Not unless they can prove you lied, which they can't because you didn't. And even then, it was a private event. First Amendment protections aside, no court is going to entertain this. It's just intimidation. So, I ignore it? Frame it. Hang it in your bathroom. That's about all it's good for. Friday, yesterday, the real entitlement kicked in. I got a visit from her mother. First time I'd ever seen the woman look less than perfectly composed. She sat in my living room, clutching her purse like it was a weapon. I'm here to ask you, as a Christian woman, to apologize. Apologize for what? For destroying my daughter's wedding day, for humiliating her in front of everyone, for ruining what should have been the happiest moment of her life. Your daughter left me for my brother. She announced it like I should be grateful to stay in the family. She had me be the best man at her wedding. And you think I owe her an apology? Two wrongs don't make a right. No, but the truth isn't wrong. Everything I said at that wedding was factual. If the facts are embarrassing, maybe the problem isn't me. She stood up. You'll regret this. They're planning to take legal action. I've already received the cease and desist. It's legally meaningless. Not just that. My daughter knows things about you too. Things you told her in confidence. How would you like those shared with your employer, your students' parents? I felt cold for a second. Then I remembered something. Go ahead, I've got nothing to hide. I never got a DUI, never harassed anyone, never cheated. The worst thing I ever did was trust your daughter, and that's not illegal. She left. I poured myself another drink. So that's where we are. The cease and desist is framed in my bathroom. Thanks for the suggestion. The anonymous report at work went nowhere. The threats to expose my secrets are empty because I don't have any worth hiding, but I have a feeling this isn't over. Called it. Definitely wasn't over. The last 2 weeks have been a masterclass in watching entitled people realize their actions have consequences. Spoiler alert, they don't handle it well. First, the legal threat evaporated. My lawyer friend helped me draft a response to the cease and desist that basically said, "Try me." We never heard back. Apparently, threatening legal action is less fun when the other person doesn't immediately cave. But that didn't stop them from trying other avenues. Week 2, I found out through a colleague that someone had been calling the school board, trying to get me put on administrative leave. Same mental stability claims, but this time with added suggestions that I might be dangerous around children. Real classy stuff. The superintendent actually called me personally. I want you to know we've investigated these claims thoroughly. Your employment record is spotless. The allegations are clearly retaliatory. We're documenting everything in case we need to pursue action against the complainant for harassment. I thanked him, asked if he knew who was making the calls. They're anonymous, but they're coming from the same person. The voice, the specific details they know. We have our suspicions. I had mine too. The school board thing backfired spectacularly, by the way. One of the board members mentioned it to her husband, who happened to be friends with someone at my brother's company. Word got around that he was trying to get his brother fired over a personal dispute. Not a great look for a guy trying to climb the corporate ladder. Then came the family meeting. Yes, really. My parents organized a family intervention at their house. I only went because I wanted to see how far they'd push this. It was me, my parents, my brother, her and her parents, 6 against 1, felt like a tribunal. Dad opened with his serious voice. "We need to resolve this situation. It's destroying our family." I stayed calm. What exactly needs to be resolved? They got married. I told the truth at their wedding. What's left to discuss? Her father jumped in. "You need to issue a public apology. Post something on social media. Tell everyone you lied or exaggerated." I didn't lie or exaggerate. Everything I said was true. My brother, "You twisted things to make me look bad." I quoted your ex-girlfriend verbatim. If that makes you look bad, maybe the problem isn't my quoting. She finally spoke. First time since the text exchange. "You were supposed to be the nice one, the good brother. How could you do this?" I looked at her. Really looked. How could I? You left me after 3 years. You started dating my brother while we were still together, and don't give me that nothing happened nonsense because emotional affairs count. You had me stand at your wedding as best man like some kind of trophy of how okay everything was, and you're asking how I could embarrass you. I wanted us all to be happy. No, you wanted to have everything without consequences. You wanted to upgrade to the richer brother while keeping me around as proof that you're not the bad guy. That's not how it works. Her mother. She's devastated. She hasn't stopped crying since the wedding. Then maybe she should have thought about that before asking me to celebrate her marrying my brother. My mom, trying to mediate. Can't we just move past this? It's done. The wedding happened. Why keep punishing everyone? I'm not punishing anyone. I'm not the one making anonymous calls to school boards. I'm not the one sending cease and desist letters. I'm not the one threatening to expose secrets. That's all them. I gave one speech, one time, and walked away. They're the ones who won't let it go. Silence. Dad, if you apologize, we can put this behind us. Pass. The meeting ended shortly after that. No resolution, no apology. Just 6 angry faces watching me leave. But here's where it gets interesting. Last week, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I'd ignore it, but something made me pick up. It was a woman's voice. "Hi, you don't know me, but I used to work with your brother. I heard about what happened at his wedding." I listened. I was the one who filed the HR complaint, the one that got buried. I quit because I couldn't prove anything and everyone believed him over me. When I heard someone finally called him out publicly, I wanted to thank you. We talked for about 20 minutes. She told me details I hadn't known, details that made what I said at the wedding look tame by comparison. Apparently, the harassment was actually much worse than his ex-girlfriend had let on. Borderline criminal. But without documentation, it was her word against his and his father's money. "Would you be willing to talk to a lawyer?" I asked. Not for a lawsuit necessarily, just to have it documented. She hesitated. "I don't know. It's been years. What would it accomplish?" "Peace of mind. And maybe, if enough people document his behavior, it starts to form a pattern that can't be ignored." She said she'd think about it. Yesterday, I got news through the family grapevine. My cousin, who still talks to me. Apparently, my brother's company is doing an internal review of several past HR complaints that were resolved through unofficial channels. Someone on the board is asking questions about liability and exposure. The timing's suspicious. I have no proof, but I suspect the woman I talked to decided to make some calls. As for the happy couple, their honeymoon got cut short because she got food poisoning. They came back to his condo, which apparently has a mold problem nobody knew about. Her parents are still refusing to speak to them because the wedding was ruined. His friends from work are keeping their distance because nobody wants to be associated with the guy whose own brother exposed him at his wedding. My cousin says they've been fighting constantly. Apparently, she's realizing that the man she traded up for has some issues that money can't fix. And he's realizing that the woman who left his brother might leave him too, given the right incentive. Poetic, honestly. I'm doing okay. Not great, not terrible. Still teaching. Still living in the same apartment. Started seeing a therapist to work through some stuff because 3 years of relationship plus family betrayal doesn't just disappear. But I don't regret the speech. Not one word of it. Figured I should close this out since people keep asking. The internal review at my brother's company finished last month. They found significant irregularities in how certain complaints were handled, particularly ones involving employees whose families had donated to company events. 3 HR managers got fired. 2 executives resigned. My brother didn't lose his job, but he got moved to a different department and lost his corner office. The woman who filed the original complaint ended up talking to a lawyer after all. Not to sue, just to document everything. Apparently 2 other women came forward after hearing about the review. There's now a proper paper trail. Nothing criminal, at least not yet, but enough that his career trajectory has been permanently altered. Dad's not speaking to me. Mom sends occasional texts about Jesus and forgiveness that I don't respond to. My brother hasn't reached out since the family meeting. I'm fine with all of that. The marriage is still technically intact, but from what I hear through the cousin network, it's not pretty. She's discovered that living with him full-time is different from seeing him at family dinners. The charm wears off, the cracks show. They've been to couples counseling twice already, and it's only been 2 months. She texted me once more, about 3 weeks ago. Long message about how she made a mistake, how she didn't realize what she had, how she's miserable and can't talk to anyone because everyone judges her. I read it, didn't respond. Closure isn't about getting them to admit they were wrong. It's about accepting that some people will never see themselves clearly, and moving forward anyway. I'm moving forward. Took a summer teaching gig at a program for at-risk kids. Started running in the mornings. Made some new friends who don't know anything about my family drama and just know me as the guy who's pretty good at trivia nights. Last week, I went on a date. First one since everything happened. It was awkward and nice and normal. Don't know if it'll go anywhere, but it felt good to remember that my story isn't over just because one chapter ended badly. The wedding speech gets brought up occasionally. A video someone took made the rounds on social media for a while. Strangers have opinions about whether I was justified or cruel. I don't engage with any of it. Here's what I know. They expected me to be complicit in my own humiliation, to smile and clap while they rewrote history into a love story where I was just a supporting character, to sacrifice my dignity so they could have their fairy tale. I declined. Everything that happened after, the fallout, the consequences, the destroyed relationships, that's on them. They built a house on lies and expected everyone to admire the architecture. I just pointed out it didn't have a foundation. Family first, right? Well, they showed me what family meant to them. Now I'm building a new definition, one that doesn't include people who treat loyalty as a one-way street. Thanks for following along. Time to log off and live my life.